So I will explain a little bit to you about SBA loans and how the process works. In particular, I'm going to talk about the Economic Injury Disaster Relief Program, or EIDL loan program, and specifically we're going to talk about business damages that relate to COVID-19 or the coronavirus. It's different than other types of disasters that the SBA normally handles in their normal disaster relief loan program, because unlike a regular disaster where you think of a tornado or a hurricane, this pandemic crisis is ongoing and doesn't have a discrete end date, and the damages are continuing to go forward. So we expect that the SBA's program is going to have to adapt to that kind of disaster. So in the process, the applications come first, and the application will require basic information about your business, about yourself, and it will require information about your finances, the business's finances, a general release so that the SBA can access your IRS forms for the last couple of years, and some supplemental documentation. Once the SBA receives that documentation, you're going to come in contact with several different people at the SBA. There'll be someone who evaluates your loan application, looks for red flags like bankruptcies, criminal history, and other kind of major issues that would give them pause as to whether or not you're creditworthy. Once that assessment has been made, there will be a loss verification step. A loss verification usually involves a loss verifier looking at someone's roof and saying, yes, this hurricane damage is worth a certain amount. But in these cases, we're talking about businesses. So the loss verifiers for this particular disaster are more likely to be accountants, and specifically forensic accountants. They're going to look at the numbers in the application, and they're going to try to determine how much of the business profits have been injured, how much of the normal debts that get paid have they not been able to pay, and so on and so forth, that can specifically be related to COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Once they determine that, that kind of puts a cap on the loan amount. And then a loan officer is going to determine your creditworthiness, the interest rate, and the repayment terms. And once all that gets put together, an attorney will look at it and draft the loan documents, right? Those documents will state the interest rate, the repayment period, all of the terms. They'll look for personal guarantors on some of them, they'll look for collateral on some of them, and they'll have the documents that go along with those terms. Once we receive those closing documents, typically we will walk through those documents with the client and explain what all of that means. And the client at that time, or your business, can determine whether or not it makes good business sense to take the SBA loan. And then if you do decide to take the SBA loan, this would be the closing process. We'd execute the documents, and it would go to someone at the SBA called a case manager. The case manager will verify that the documentation is there, and you'll get your initial disbursement. And unlike other types of disasters, in this disaster, because business will continue on and will continue to have effects from COVID-19, you may have more damages next month or the next month after that, or chain effect damages. So typically in a normal disaster, we might have some ongoing damages that would be handled by the SBA having a loan modification request. Here, we foresee that initially we'll have modification requests for these ongoing damages, but that the SBA probably will have some sort of streamlined process for those ongoing damages in the future. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of different people at the SBA that you would come into contact with, and it is a process that you can go through on your own. What we're offering is, since we as attorneys, both Rainey and myself, worked at the SBA for several years as supervising attorneys, that we have a lot of experience, and so we can offer you peace of mind that we'll be able to look through your documents, make sure that everything is correct, and then as the SBA has changes on the ground to their policies, that we will be able to keep you up to date, talk to all of the different people, the loan officer, the loss verifier, the case manager, and be that point of communication for you so you don't have to worry about it. On the other hand, if you choose to do it yourself, our biggest piece of advice would be to keep in mind that the SBA is scaling up, and they're going to have a lot of changes. There's a lot of things on the ground that can't be predicted. Nobody has seen a disaster like this in their lifetime, and so we expect that policies will change as the SBA adapts to ongoing circumstances. Hopefully you find this information helpful, and if you want to reach out to us, our contact information is down below. Thanks.